I hope you're enjoying the space-time visualizer, the time-space visualizer. I don't know what day it is, I don't know where I am. I do know that I am here today to talk to you all about Doctor Who missing episode animated reconstructions. We love them, we also criticise them, which is odd considering that I don't think any other franchise, sci-fi or otherwise, has been treated with so much dignity and respect as to bestow upon us these stories that we once thought we would never ever see in any kind of visual form. Obviously some of them have been found, but we get animated reconstructions of this pulpy, quirky, weird, mass popularist science fiction fantasy drama series that's been running for far too long, but we get them. And how exciting is that? And yet we still find ways to criticise them, and I probably will in this video. We've got the Reign of Terror, we've got the 10th Planet, we've got the power of the Daleks, we've got the Underwater... We've got the Moonbase, we've got the Macra Terror, we've got the most recent release, the fabulous Faceless Ones, which is here. The reason it's in a slipcase is I accidentally bought two of them. And so, as a gesture of goodwill during this horrible time, anybody want a copy of the Faceless Ones? Hit me up on Twitter. Or just keep an eye on Twitter, and this will pop up at some point and you can win it. Then we have the fantastic, and I think massively overlooked in my opinion, the Ice Warriors. Which was part of the 50th anniversary sort of slew of releases in terms of animations, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think people don't really give it the time of day because it's got less of a sort of stylistic approach. It's got more of a sort of comic book flavour to it. There are people still doing construction out there. 2 seconds. Then the grandfather of these releases, we have The Invasion, here signed by the wonderful Wendy Padbury. This holds up so well, really. I mean, you go back and you see some earlier animations, you see some stuff that's done in a context that's not as restrictive as a 1970s or 1960s studio TV program. Take The Infinite Quest, for example. Full colour with recognisable faces that we would see running away from CGI explosions and huge spaceships in these massive sound stages with a infinitesimally huge budget. That's not a word, but I think it is actually. And the animation that Cosgrove Hall made there, I don't think it quite suited the animation style that they perfected with The Invasion, because this echoes the sort of often stilted, awkward and sort of hesitant nature of a 1960s TV studio, in my opinion. And they perfected the art. Everybody else that's kind of come afterwards has, I think, sort of tried to get back to this level, and a lot of them have done it, some of them haven't, but The Invasion for me I think is still toppermost of the poppermost. It's the standard bearer, isn't it, really? I will say, however, my favourite of all the animations that have been done so far is the Moonbase. I'm not a massive fan of what Planet 55 did with the Reign of Terror, because they had this very specific animation style, very stylistic. It was very kinetic. It was all about seeing the movement, almost like trying to plaster the joins between the awkward nature of TV studio shows back in the day. The fact that everything just had a slightly slower, more methodical, often plodding pace. The Reign of Terror tried to plaster over those cracks a bit too garishly. Those weird... You know? When they came around to doing the Moonbase, I think they found the perfect middle ground between trying to authentically replicate a 1960s studio TV program, but also their stylistic flourishes, their stylistic flair. I think they got it down pat. I like to refer to the first era of animated Doctor Who reconstructions as the alright, we'll do one era, which came with The Invasion, produced by Cosgrove Hall, which was very, very sadly, I believe, absorbed by ITV. They don't really do anything anymore. But I'm sure we won't hear about any of that sort of stuff with the other studios that were involved in Doctor Who animated reconstructions. I like to call this the 50th anniversary wave, which started with the Reign of Terror, then moved on to the 10th Planet, then moved on to the Ice Warriors, and finally ended with the Moon Base. Now, most of these, with the exception, of course, of the Ice Warriors, were produced by Planet 55, an animation studio that has now become Big Finish Creative, and also was supposed to animate an episode in the third era, which is what I refer to as the I guess that will do wave. Again, the Underwater Menace. Now, apparently, I mean, people will know more about this than me, but what happened was, this episode was commissioned to be animated by Planet 55, and for some reason they had a massive backlog of work to do or something like that, and this never saw the light of day, even though the cover art and the special features had been finished and I think released, possibly. I think this is the most disappointing Doctor Who DVD release we've ever had, in all honesty, and it's a shame that it never flourished, it never became the animation that we wanted to see, but that's life, I guess we have to live with it. Then we have the current wave of Doctor Who animations, which I refer to as the you get a recon, and you get a recon, and now when Power of the Daleks... I still think that this is the best the Daleks have ever looked in animated form. I think they are the absolute standout of this release, and I cannot wait for BBC Studios to do more Dalek stories, because this is the animation, the 3D animation on the Daleks is superlative, absolutely incredible, and it's got the best cover out of any of these BBC Studio releases. The rest of them are, I mean, I don't know what to say. The next to be released was Sharda. Did anybody need Sharda? Then we have the Macra Terror, which is great. It's really, really good. I believe this was also produced by a company called Sun and Moon, alongside BBC Studios. Got some muck on it. That's one of the dirtiest DVDs I own, except the ones under my bed. And then we've got the Faceless Ones, which is the one that we're all enjoying now, which is really good, really fantastic. The one thing I would say is just in relation to whether or not these are here to surpass or to replace or to just add to what we already have in our collections. Since 2017, the Beatles have sort of been going through 50th anniversary releases of their past albums, and they started with Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And every re-release, every 50th anniversary re-release has had a different mix or added bits to it, which doesn't take away from the original album, because they still include the mix to the original album on there. In much the same way that the Faceless Ones has been done, because of course we do have select episodes from the Faceless Ones and they are included on the DVD, but they've also been animated. And it's odd to think that we've got to the stage now where we couldn't have episodes like The Crusaders, which is one of my #1 stories to be released on DVD in an animated form. We couldn't have that made, even though we do have surviving episodes from it. But we had enough of a budget in this to animate every single episode, even if they have survived. I love that. I think that means that somebody can sit down and watch an entire actual Doctor Who episode as a cartoon, not just as bits to bridge the gaps between episodes that already exist. I think that's really, really cool. Can this happen to more stories? Could we just go back and just make cartoons out of stories that do just fully exist? And that's a pointless exercise, isn't it, really? Is that 10 minutes? Thank you for watching, everybody. Remain indoors.